Hi there, this is Pat McDonald, your host for Vote for Vermont, where our tagline is Listening Beyond the Soundbites. Joining me in studio today is Greg Thayer, who's a candidate for Vermont Lieutenant Governor. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm glad you answered my email.
Yeah, but we try. Lieutenant Governor.
Yes.
That's a big one. I don't even know if people know much about the Lieutenant Governor job, but it's part-time.
Yep. And it's, it's the...
Well, it's supposed to be part-time.
Supposed to be, right. There's 6 constitutional offices in Vermont, and the Lieutenant Governor is one of them. There's the Governor, Lieutenant Governor, Secretary of State, Attorney General, Auditor of Accounts, and Treasurer.
Right.
So it's independent from all those offices and the legislature, and you get elected alone and you do your job in concert with the other offices and help run state government. And you're also, you're the 3 big constitutional duties of the Lieutenant Governor is that you're gaveling in every day the Senate when they're in session, and you gavel them out. You're also, you sit on a very important committee called the Committee on Committees, which sets up the committees for the Senate and, ranking members and chairmen and stuff like that. And then there's another one. You sit in the stead of the governor if he or she is out of state or if becomes incapacitated. So it's a very important job, and but I'm focused on the job. But I'm also going to do a lot more, and I think we have a question in there.
Yes, we do.
So
we'll get to that. I know.
Yeah, it's an exciting position, and it's an exciting time. And Patricia, I ran for Lieutenant Governor. I have an accounting degree. I have a master's in accounting. They were talking to me in the last, 6-8 years about running for auditor. But I'm a political, that. I'm a political
It's in
guy.
your blood,
Yeah,
right?
I love politics and the making of public policy and helping people. So I wanted to do something different. And so that's why when Senator Leahy resigned and everything started shuffling, it's a perfect opportunity for me. Because I waited a bunch of years to run for the county senate down in Rutland because of my friendship with the Bloomers and a lot of the people who were serving and everything. So I was always that guy behind the scenes helping. And so this is my chance. So I'm going to do it.
Good for you. So I know you just said you were an an accountant. Could you tell us a little bit about your background?
Yeah. So I born and raised in Rutland, and I graduated from Mount St. Joseph Academy. I went to Catholic school and public school. Graduated from MSJ in 1982. Went to college. I have a bachelor's degree in accounting and a master's degree in business administration with a concentration in accounting. And I have 5 children, awesome kids, and they're starting to multiply now. I have 5 grandchildren, just had one, and we have another one coming in the end of August, so I'm pretty excited about that.
That's great.
I'm going to be out in Milwaukee later this month, and I'm going to be in Chicago with my daughter and her children out there for a little bit.
I missed that in my research, 5 children.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. I was married, 24 years, and I was a banker for about 22. Yeah. The last, 15, 16 years, I've been working, doing audit work. And now I'm an audit reviewer where our auditors go out and do audits at different businesses, and I get to review them.
Oh.
And so I sit in front of 3 computer screens.
You're one of those.
And my eyes get tired.
I watch my daughter does 2 screens. I don't know how she does it. I have 1.
Yeah.
That's my limit.
One's enough, right?
Exactly.
But I love what I do, and I served on the city council in Rutland. I served on a lot of different boards. I was on the Boys and Girls Club board, and I just really enjoyed working with the young kids. We'd go down to the Boys and Girls Club, and we'd help them with their homework, and we would play games, and we'd play basketball. We started basketball leagues with them.
Nice.
I also had some youth programs too that I was involved in as a coach and stuff. But it's all about helping and working with people, being involved in your community.
Well, and Rutland is such a great community.
It is a beautiful community.
It is. Do they still doing that Friday night?
Yeah, we have them a couple nights a year. They 3 or 4.
I was going down there a couple of times. I just loved it.
Yeah. A lot of energy.
Everybody's out on the street and vendors, and it's just so much fun.
Yeah, and you can get in, you can see a lot of different types of shows that are going on. And they have a couple bands, and they've had some big bands
Oh,
have
really?
come in too. Yeah, so it's nice, and they do have them set for. There's one coming up in late July, then there'll be one in August, and then one in early September.
Nice.
So they
I'll
still
have to
doing,
check that out.
Yeah,
That was fun. It was worth the ride down.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
great. So listen, you're involved in an initiative. It's called Vermonters for Vermont Initiative.
Yep.
What is that? Because there's a slogan that went along with it about "Get Real," which I thought.
Yeah, well, the Get Real
is that different?
is the whole, Get Real that the party
Yep.
did, with Bill Huff and Tom Koch and everybody. The Vermonters for Vermont Initiative, it's back in 2018, I was ready to run for state senate.
Yep.
And we had some open seats, and I ended up taking on a couple new tax clients and accounting clients, and they were going to be big projects. And so I decided to pull out. I had all my petitions. I had like 500
wow.
signatures. I was all ready to go, and I pulled out. That's when I started Vermonters for Vermont, because I knew I wanted to be involved in the making
Yep.
of public policy. I wanted to educate Vermonters about what's going on in Montpelier, under
Yep.
the Gold Dome, and even, in some, town halls and school
Yep.
boards. And we've done that, and we've done it very successfully. And I've done town hall meetings across the state on critical race theory, on the economy, on energy.
Excellent.
And then we did the, Ed Wheeler out of Middlebury wrote a program called Americanism and Marxism. And we took that around to an additional, 7 or 8 places. And it was very, very effective, and we've been educating people. That's been going on since 2018.
Excellent.
And I've been, loving it.
And it's mostly person to person.
Well, when we have the town halls, we
Right.
We get 100, 150 people.
Wow.
Excuse me, present, and they're asking questions, and I get different speakers.
Yeah.
Liz Cady used to come and spoke at a couple of them
Yeah.
from Essex. John Clark. We've had some really good speakers. Even Rob Roper has done some of them, and what's his name? Higley, Representative Higley.
Oh, Mark, I love
yeah,
Mark.
Yeah, he's incredible.
He's been on the show. I love
Yeah,
him.
he's a good
Yeah.
good salt of the
Yep.
earth person.
He doesn't change. He's very, exactly where Mark stands.
Yeah.
There's no questions,
Right,
and I think
right.
that's great.
And we've had Matt Koda and Judy Taranovich. So we've had some really
Great.
good people, with us doing these programs. And Julie Moore from the Agency of
Right,
Natural Resources has done a couple of the energy town halls.
Great.
And I think she learned a lot. I think she heard a lot from the people, and it was about the people. Because when I do events, Patricia, I have to have audience participation. So we let the speakers, do their 5, 10, 12
Right.
minutes, and then the audience gets to ask questions. Because to me, it's all about, like my campaign, all about we the people.
Excellent.
It's about
That's
the
great.
people. And I think that's what's being lost over
I was
over
going to
at the
say
Dome.
that's refreshing to hear.
Yeah.
A lot of things have been lost in the legislature.
I remember when you served, you were a great representative and commissioner, and you did great work. Changed a lot.
What's changed is we always say the third bill is the best bill. Your bill, my bill, and the compromise bill.
Right.
Well, that third bill doesn't exist anymore. It's your
Right.
bill.
Yeah.
And they've
know-
lost that. They've lost that interaction. It's bad.
A lot of Republicans have issues with Governor Scott, but you know what? He's the only thing between common sense
Right.
and Marxism. And he's and I don't agree with the governor on some issues, but I think for the most part he's doing a really good
he
job.
is. He's the most popular governor according
Yeah,
to
yeah.
the polls in the
Yeah.
United States.
Yeah,
So.
Governor Burgum mentioned that, and
Yeah.
we talked about that. The governor from North Dakota,
right, right.
who could be our vice president
For sure.
Yeah, he's a good man.
So tell me about the Get Real, because
It's an initiative brought on by the state GOP, with Tom Koch and Bill Huff, and I think Rob Roper was involved in it, and it's an acronym for Get Real is an acronym for kind of the plan for what Vermont wants to do,
Right.
or what the Republicans want to do here in Vermont to, slow down the growth of big government
Right.
and bring it, back to a common sense, state and situation. So the Get Real, it's an acronym. Starts
Right.
for basically G
I
for.
saw those periods after each letter, and I
Yep.
went, up.
You want to look at
It
this?
stands for something. Thank you. Oh, got it.
Yeah. So
Excellent.
yeah, that I'm not in. I'm promoting it, of course.
Yeah.
But I didn't write it or anything like that. But I do promote it. Bill Huff
Oh,
has done
perfect.
a great job.
look at it. You have to read this because it's excellent.
Has Bill?
It's got everything. He has not been on the show, but I should get him on the show.
Yeah, I'll reach out to him. I'll send him an email and CC you on it.
Yeah.
So basically, it's the G is Global Warming Solutions Act to repeal it. E is educational excellence. T is for transportation infrastructure. Our roads, our bridges. You know that probably better than anybody in your last position.
They need help.
Yes, we do. R for real is regulatory reform. I think between, to me, that's why we're having this housing problem, is all the regulations.
Yes. Yep.
We put an industry out of existence with the, with what they've done with childcare in Vermont. And now we've got a tax, which is, according to your poll, your poll here, is probably the most unpopular tax going. I think it was like 73%.
Right. When I moved up from New York, my daughter was this is a long time ago, she was in daycare. But I moved up and I looked at the price of sending a child to daycare. It was staggering from what I used to pay. I couldn't believe the difference. Yeah. It's just too much money for people.
I have the 5 children, and when we did a little bit of daycare, and it was very expensive. So my wife then, Julianne, and I decided to keep her home and let her raise the kids, and I worked. Right. And we had a great team going, and it was working out.
Well, it's
really
a job
good.
in itself, isn't it?
It is. Oh yeah. I mean, that job's worth a lot of money. You couldn't pay. I mean, and that's what we're seeing. But the problem is that. And I know there's people out there struggling with daycare. I get it. We get it. Right. But it's all these regulations that these daycare providers have to do that's causing the prices to rise and rise and rise and everything. And so, if we had a little bit of common sense, right? The governor talks about common sense. I've been talking about common sense for 4 years. And we need common sense legislators.
Well, I know when I was in the Department of Labor, construction people would say, because of Act 250, they would say to me, we just want to know how much and how long. And it's so convoluted and so mixed up that the prices keep changing for these guys, and they never know how long it's going to be. And that's all they want to know is how much and how long.
So going back to the get real, the R is regulatory reform. E is the environment. We love our environment too, Patricia. I drink a ton of water, and I take it from the tap. I don't have to. I mean, who would have thought we'd be buying water from a store in a plastic bottle?
Exactly.
So I fill them up all the time.
We used to drink out of streams.
Right. Yeah. Now the mountain streams coming down natural water.
Exactly.
But we love it because we live, work, and play here too, and raise our family. And people are struggling because of all these costs. And letter A in real is affordability, which I'm sure we'll get into that with some of the questions. And then the last one is law and order. We need our people. Your poll, that was the second biggest issue.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
That didn't used to be.
Yeah.
Because people felt very safe here.
Yeah.
And now not so much.
I have a daughter that works on the marketplace in downtown Burlington. Every night I say to her, please just text me and just say, Kay, that I know you're okay. And she does. Right. And she lives off the marketplace. She doesn't drive. She walks. She used to work at the hospital. She had to go to work at 5:30. And the stuff she would see walking from her apartment up to the hospital, to the medical center, I was scared for her. Yeah. But I said, let me get you a bike. Why don't you just drive the car? It's by the time she gets parking and everything, it's not worth it. Yeah. So it's easier to walk.
But
she loves to walk.
She's been okay.
She's no problem so far. She's had some people approach her and say things and nasty and everything. Of course, when she just keeps going, because she's one that has her earbuds in, and it's like, well, take one of the earbuds out so you can hear your surroundings, know what's going on, and have the can of mace on the other side.
Exactly. I'm right with you, Dad. Yeah. No, I don't go to Burlington much
I feel my daughter that lives in Chicago is safer than my daughter that lives in Burlington, Vermont.
Well, there's a statement.
Yeah. And that's scary.
Yeah. Well, I think they know. I think the Burlingtonians realize what's happening, and I think they're certainly moving in the right direction.
Chief Murad's doing a great job, him and his people, and I support the police. And when I'm walking in these parades, and a lot of times when I'm in town, I'll stop in at police departments and just say thank you. Good. Because it's that important. They need to hear that because of what's been going on, especially 3 years ago, 2 years ago.
Oh, right.
So with all the defunding.
Oh, has that sort of simmered down?
Yeah, I think it has.
Because it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, we
A
need
social
protection.
worker cannot stop some of the crimes that
Right.
are out there. You need that police protection.
Yeah. And it's okay to have the social workers after the police have gone
Right.
on and assessed the situation and maybe de-escalated it or whatever.
Exactly.
Then the social workers can get involved and help. But a lot of these social workers that won't get out of the car
Yep,
until
right.
it's de-escalated, and because they don't know what's going to happen.
Well, they formed this, I forget what they call it anymore, but it's a group when they go to these places, a mental health expert,
Mm-hmm.
just somebody to help the police and assess the situation, but you need the policeman there.
Yeah.
And then it all works well.
There's up in Burlington today, and I just witnessed this. Somebody told me this, and I witnessed it coming from my daughter's house. Drove up onto Main Street off Church, and they said that now the police don't even respond. The fire department does for opioid overdoses. The police will show up,
Yeah.
but the fire department goes
the
to
lead.
EMTs to do the Narcan.
Oh, right, the Narcan.
And I came around the corner off I think it was Church Street, not the marketplace.
Yeah,
it was
right.
On the Main Street, and they're right in front of the Costello Federal Building. There were 2 fire trucks and a police car, and they were out there. There was a guy down. I didn't think it was a guy, but they're the men and women of the Burlington Fire
Right
Department.
out there.
Were administering Narcan.
Right.
So I ended up seeing it, and of course I kept going because to me it's a private thing, even though
Yeah,
it's in
right.
the middle of the public.
Right.
But
Well, it doesn't help when the public's around
yeah,
putting in their
especially-
2 cents, I think. Let them
Yeah.
do their job.
and then the tourists seeing it. So
Well, and I really think when it gets to a certain point, everybody figures out that this has to change.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons, especially the tourists.
Yeah,
I mean, I haven't been to Burlington. I can't even tell you when, and I'm not anxious to go.
yeah, Burlingtonians will say that I don't even go into downtown Burlington. I'll run out to Williston or
Right.
whatever to have dinner or to
It is
whatever.
a shame because that town
It
is
is. It's
fabulous.
beautiful.
Yep, it's
It's
got great
beautiful.
restaurants and great stores, and the view alone is
I went down
fabulous.
2 years ago, Patricia. I went down and sat on the marketplace to talk to people in
Did
my
you?
campaign. I learned a lot, but I wasn't really getting those people, if you will. I was getting real people
Yeah.
and everything, but they're concerned.
For
I only
sure.
come down in the daytime,
Yep. And I would think if you got the late shift at work, that would cause you
Yeah.
a little problem.
Yeah.
So is this the first time you're actually running for?
For lieutenant
position?
governor,
Yeah.
I ran 2 years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
I ran against the former state senator Joe Benning.
Oh, right.
12-year
That's right.
incumbent.
Oh, of course, I
Yeah.
remember, right.
And I did garner. I was telling Coleman, I did garner 45% of the vote 2 years ago. I
Yeah.
won the 5 southern counties,
Yeah.
and I did really well. We were very proud of
Great.
what we did. First time ever out of the box.
It's tough.
It is getting out and seeing people. 2 years ago, I was quasi self-employed doing the audit work. Well, now I have to be behind a computer, and so it's a little different. My time. That's why when we were setting this up, it's like I can't leave Rutland until like 2:30, so we can go
I'm
like
glad
4
you
or
finally
5.
came. It was great to have you on here. It's just for doing it boggles my mind. Doing a statewide run is such an enormous issue. I mean, because if
But-
you don't come to my town, why didn't you come to my
Right,
town? Well, come to
right.
my town.
Yeah.
I mean, they expect you to be there,
Yeah.
and they do.
They do,
And it's a little state, but it's a big state when you're
Yeah.
trying to knock on
Yeah.
doors and meet people.
Yeah, and I stop in a lot of the stores and just introduce myself,
do
say
you?
hi, and stuff. And I talk to a lot of people. I was on a listening tour 2 years ago, and that's what
Right.
I'm doing this year. I'm listening to people, and I'm enjoying it, and I'm learning a lot. And the biggest thing I'm learning is about affordability, and people are scared
Yep.
because of the crime issues, and they're concerned about what's going on in their school and the funding. There's a lot of stuff going on. One of my other, and at the end you have a question about this,
Yeah.
I'm not going to I won't go too much into it, but it's the mental health issue.
Oh.
And I hope we can talk about that at the end
please,
before
no,
we sign
you
out.
brought up. Go ahead. It's really bad.
It is,
It has
it's-
blossomed and grown so much. It's everywhere.
Yeah, and so my thing with mental health is that we're going to have a real conversation when I'm elected, and I may even do it if I'm not elected, because nobody's talking about it, and it's a serious issue, and I think it's an issue that drives a lot of bad behavior, and these folks a lot of them are really good people. They just got into a bad rut, or somebody didn't recognize. And I think, and I've been talking with a lot of mental health providers, talking with them about ways we can address this.
Oh.
And the biggest thing they're talking about is people got to be listened to. People get upset because they're not being listened to, and and people need love. My dad, who suffered from manic depression, and but he was very successful and very proud of my father, 6 kids, and back in 1967, the doctors were telling him he was a drunk or a druggie, and he wasn't. He drove himself to Waterbury to the mental health institution, and he got the help he needed. He was there a couple and a half months, and I wrote a paper on no such thing as normal, and it was about my dad. And it was in abnormal psychology class in my undergrad. And, he owned a couple grocery stores with a deli. He owned an insurance agency. He had apartment houses, 6 kids. My mom is awesome. I miss them both. They died young. Miss them both a lot. And but you know what? He taught me.
Good for him.
He used to always say, Patricia, he used to say, the best medicine is laughter and a smile.
Right.
And I don't think
Good
these people
message.
are getting that. And families need to step up. Families really need to step up and help and not be embarrassed. Growing up, we talked about my father's situation. He ran for the House one year. And the whole article from, and you probably remember, Yvonne Daly, great writer,
yes, right,
Rutland Herald. And the whole article was just about Dad's, manic depression, bipolar, mental health.
right.
So he was on Governor Snelling's commission back when they decentralized all the hospitals and houses. Some say that was the wrong move today in hindsight. I don't know. I just know that we need to, people who are severely challenged mentally, those are different stories.
Yep.
Those are different remedies, and we need to help them. And it's expensive, but when we get it, and it can be very expensive for taxpayers. But I think if we can address with family help what's going on, with the average person who's just, maybe homeless, maybe not working, maybe there's something going on, a disconnect. We've got to try to help them and try to cure that so they become a productive person in society.
And I would think they would want that, but they don't know how.
Right.
They don't know how to get it, nor do they. Maybe it's because you said they were embarrassed or something. Nor did like your dad. He asked for help.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think
He
a
went and got
lot
it.
of folks would do that.
Right. My father was a proud guy. He was military and went to the academy. His mom was a teacher, and his father died when he was 6. But still, he did what he had to do. His stepfather, my grandfather Romeo Mayo, was a great guy. He was very supportive, very, very supportive.
So when you've been around, you've been talking to people, and I really think they want to be heard.
Yeah.
Do you know, there's a quick story. When I was commissioner of motor vehicle, they had a big thing happen down in the place where people get their registrations and license and stuff. And so I went down, and people were like really upset. And I introduced myself, and I explained to people what happened, and they talked to me and calm down, because I listened to them and I recognized that we had a problem, our fault, sorry, but could you just wait a few minutes?
That's the thing. You hit it. You took responsibility for the department, whatever it was, not even just as the leader of the department, but people a lot of times don't want to take responsibility. They want to just keep passing the buck. It was this one, it was that one. You know what? I'm the leader, or I'm here, I'm going to try to help you, but this is what's going on. Give me 24 hours. Give me 72 hours. I will be back in touch with you, or one of our representatives will, and we'll get this cured for you. And I think that's a lot. People, we're in such a fast-paced world today, and we depend so much on these things that
I am serious. I have to stop.
Yeah.
I'm addicted.
Yeah, me too.
Bruce has to tell me, Pat, and I'm like, I put it down.
Yeah, because look at we have Facebook, we have Twitter. Some people have a couple Facebooks. I mean, what I've got going on right now with the campaign,
for
and then my business, and then my personal one, and then the emails, and then the texting, and then pictures, and then it's
ridiculous.
Just saw somewhere where there's a group of people trying to make it so kids can't access the internet. And I don't know if that's healthy, but I know there's some things going on.
It's a little late for that, I would
Yeah, I
think.
think
Good luck with them.
Yeah, I think we monitored it in our family. We told the kids, when you get home, you get a snack, you get into your homework, cell phones go down on the table.
There you go.
If you had a cell phone, if we went out to dinner, all cell phones on the table, because if
Right.
you see it, and now when they're older and they're making money, it's like, if you pick up your cell phone, you're paying the bill.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's a good
So
thing.
everybody puts their cell phone in their pocket or in the middle of the table.
So let's talk a little bit about what your platform is, what you really, you've already mentioned housing and
Yeah.
unemployment, but what are those key things that you're trying to get people to listen to how you would approach them?
Well, the biggest, is the affordability, and your poll cites that
Yep, right.
largely, affordability and housing, and the housing. But again, I think a lot of the problems in housing is brought on by all this overregulation by the Democrat socialist leadership.
Yep.
With what they're doing with the Global Warming Solutions Act. Now we have the Home Heating Standards Act, that's raising costs.
Oh, it's going to cost us a fortune.
It
It's
is
unbelievable.
And crime's a big issue, and mental health and schools.
Right.
What's going on in our schools? Those 5 elements are really my big focus.
Okay.
There's other stuff that's going on too. My brother lives up on the Canadian border, right in Franklin, right on the border. He sees it. He looks out his window in the morning, Canadian border, and he sees them coming across. Border Patrol's right there. Border Patrol's doing a great job. But I saw other reports, the amount of drugs that are coming over in right now in North Dakota.
Right.
It's happening in other states,
Yep.
and they're going to start hitting, Vermont with more of that.
Yeah.
And so, we've got to be ready for that.
I think it was Sununu who asked the feds for help
Yeah.
to handle the border. And I think Vermont has 14 places to cross.
Yeah.
Unguarded, but they've got some kind of
Yeah.
electronic signal that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, they
it's,
have.
it's bad.
My sister, it is my sister-in-law. Nicole's my sister-in-law. My sister-in-law's family's house is right on the border, and it goes into Canada. So
Oh.
Border Patrol comes right through. Yeah, and
Oh,
her
interesting.
aunt is Miss Corey. She was in the legislature with you from Franklin.
Oh, for sure.
Can't remember
oh,
her
wow.
first name.
Yeah. No, I can't either.
Yeah,
but
but
that's
Miss
great.
Corey,
It's
yeah.
a small place.
Yeah.
Small places.
Yeah.
Vermont. So,
So they live it every day up there.
and you were talking just for folks who are listening. Greg's mentioned the poll, and that was Campaign for Vermont did a big poll, and we were very surprised about the outcome, about where safety came in the top
Yeah,
3.
yeah.
And there were so many shockers in that poll that people are.
Yeah.
It's just changing here in Vermont, and it's sad. We've got to do something now.
Some of the interesting numbers that I saw was that people support the Paris Climate Accord, but then when we start getting into the nuts and bolts of it, when you peel back the
Right,
banana,
right.
they don't like all this government regulation.
No, and they don't want to pay for
and
it
paying
either.
for it.
That
Exactly.
was the kill. That was
Yeah.
we like climate change, but we don't want to pay for it. And now they're using the word climate resiliency,
Yeah. What's
which
that?
to me, and I had somebody on to explain it, was more looking at the reality of how do we stop the floods, getting real. I think about stopping the floods, stopping the things that are hurting us.
Yeah.
I mean, there must be some, because floods are going to happen again.
Yeah.
And
they're
they
going
were
to
trying to get resilient to not. It's less. I think it's less onerous to
Yeah.
hear resiliency rather than change or whatever the heck. And people were like, they want to change, they just don't want to pay for it.
Yeah,
Good for
yeah.
you.
Yeah. I think government is doing what they're supposed to do, and helping people, but I think they're trying to do too much, and some are trying to get it too big where they want everything to be
Yeah.
the government. I think they got to let people breathe and do the right thing, and I think people will do the right thing. Unfortunately, I subscribe to God, but some subscribe to Mother Nature. But I think it's just God's will.
Yep.
And we're going to have these weather patterns, and we're
Right.
going to have these things. So when the forecasters are telling it's coming, you got to be ready. you got to buy that extra case of water if you're going to be hunkered down for a
For
couple
sure,
of days.
for sure.
You know, and you got to do the different things and be prepared because it's going to happen, like you said. It's
Do you
going
know
to
what
happen.
what I started talking about with all the floods and stuff years ago? They used to push what they called go bags.
Yeah.
Just like in military stuff, you have your bag
Oh, yeah.
ready to go. And I had one for years.
Yeah.
I had copies of my marriage certificate, of my birth
Yeah.
certificate, and insurance, whatever was important to me, plus change of clothes, and was ready to go.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I thought maybe that's something, because people wind up in these shelters
Yeah.
with nothing and no papers, they're gone.
Right. During the winter, when I used to travel a lot during the winter in banking or in the audit
Yep.
business, I always packed a bag just in case I got stuck
good-
somewhere.
good for you,
You
yeah.
know, and I didn't do the birth certificate and stuff
Yeah,
like
right.
that, but I did, you know, I packed clothes and deodorant and
Yeah.
some water and, you know, some crackers, stuff like that is something, you know, because you
Yeah.
never know. I mean, you
Sure.
could be driving down the road, it's a storm, next thing you know, it's getting washed out.
Exactly, well, especially
And then
here. Fuck out.
So
I
you-
just thought that was a cool idea. I was talking about it on the radio, that we
Yeah.
should go back to the go bag days.
Yeah.
And I got some good calls from people saying, good
Yeah.
idea.
I think that was some of the stuff that you folks used to do at the DMV, you know, being prepared,
Yeah, right,
preparedness,
right,
you know.
right.
And a lot of times people aren't, they just get in their car and go.
Yeah.
And I see people get in their car and go without even proper shoes on. They've got sandals and it's storming out. It's like, you know, when
That's
I travel,
probably me.
when I travel, I bring a change of clothes. I have a change of clothes in my.
good for you.
in my
Well, you never
car.
know, you're
You
right.
never know. You know.
Wow, that's
So,
cool. So the lieutenant, as we talked about in the beginning of the show, the lieutenant governor job is supposed to be part-time, but if you're in it, you're in it.
Right.
It's sort of like working part-time in an office. It's never quite what they say. But it's also, it's looking at the Senate, and I think you're the one who votes if there's a tie,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, the
Which is-
tie-breaking vote.
Which means you've got to know the bill because they want
Right.
an answer right away. But there's not really anything beyond that other, and how would you use this job? People have gone over the years and wanted to do something with that job beyond what
Yeah.
it is to lead the Senate. Have you thought about how you're going to influence some of these things?
Yeah, well, one of the things I'm going to do, Patricia, is I'm going to be active, and probably active in the committee process. I don't know if I can testify because I do have to, you know, I do have to sit up
Right,
and judge
right.
and, you know, rule on different things. And that's something, you know, nobody's been able to answer that question even up there. But the biggest thing I'm going to do what Brian Doobie did. I'm going to go out and market Vermont.
I love Brian.
Yeah, when I was the city alderman, I had started a Market Rutland initiative, and we went out and we talked to businesses in the neighboring states in New York, Glens Falls, Saratoga, Keene, New Hampshire, to invest in Rutland and bring business in. That's what we're going to do. Brian did some good initiatives with Canada.
Oh, they loved him.
Yeah.
Oh, Greg, they loved him in Canada.
And he did a great initiative with
Yep.
Cuba when they opened up Cuba. You know, it's not the people of Cuba that's the problem, unfortunately.
It's the government.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be that leader that's going out with a group of people and trying to bring business here to Vermont, and not just everything in Burlington County or Chittenden County. We're going to do it around the state and help all communities.
I haven't heard much about our relationship with Canada. It was much different when Brian was
Yeah.
in the position because
Yeah.
we'd go up and they'd call him with the accent, Mr. Dubé.
Yeah.
He would have this French accent, which was hysterical, but they loved him. He could get away with murder up there.
Yeah, but we're gonna be active and we're gonna do
Good
stuff
stuff.
and we're gonna promote. I mean, I don't want to use the word cheerleader because I'm gonna get right down dirty and right into it with everybody to bring opportunities to every Vermonter, to everybody.
great. So do you have a big plan of how you're going to get around this state? Because what kills me is people don't realize the mail-in votes. That makes it really tight time frame.
Well, right now in the primary election, there's no mail-out ballots. It's
Right.
the
That's right.
traditional,
Right.
yeah, it's the traditional absentee ballot,
Right.
and you could go into your town clerk or your register
Right.
and vote that way. I think for people who are incapacitated, they would send out justice of the peace
Yes,
from each
right,
party
right.
to your home
Right.
and vote. But then there's the big vote on August 13th.
Right.
So we're focused on August 13th because
Yeah.
I feel probably 90% of the people are going to vote that way.
Yep.
The kind of early voting, if you will, has started. I believe it started Wednesday. this past Wednesday.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was. It was 45 days before.
Oh, my word.
So that's going on right now, I'm pretty sure. So we're just going to keep doing what we're doing. We're going to keep going around Vermont, talking to people. We have events, so we have a lot of private events set up with people. One thing I've done is I've set up a good network across the state, and I'm very proud of what we've done. And we're just gonna keep talking and listening to people. I listen very well. It's a listening tour, and I receive emails, I receive text messages, Facebook messages, Twitter, asking me stuff, and I invite people. I give them my card. I don't have the big campaign cards, the big palm cards. I just do a simple little business card with some issues on it. And I'll give you one of those as well.
Great.
And people take them. People say, give me an extra 5, and they pass them out. Because I ask everybody, talk to 15 of your friends.
Well, right.
And ask them to talk to 15. Keep it moving. So we're doing what we have to do, and we're excited about where we are.
And have you been surprised by anything that people have told you that you maybe weren't aware of, that they...
The only thing is, because I've been hearing so much the last 3 years with my town halls. I had a gentleman 2 years ago come up to me in Windham County, Rattleboro, and there was some stuff going on with his little daughter. The teachers were trying to train. They gave him a boy name, her a boy name, and starting like a transition thing, and it came up on a paper or something. The parents saw it, and so it led into a big issue down there.
You think?
And and so the parents, so there's stuff that's going on around the state like that. And I talk to, when I'm in these restaurants and stores and I'm talking to younger folks, I ask them, so how was your education? Where'd you go to high school? Blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And, some questions and some, other questions, follow-ups. And they're like, a lot of times the kids just go along with it because we just want to graduate. We just want to be done.
Right.
Some have said that they've been told they couldn't write that. I just had a situation where, we received some information about a woman up in Burlington who went to the Fletcher library up there to get the Riley Gaines book. They told her that we don't have that book because we don't pretty much agree with the writing of Riley Gaines. And Riley Gaines is that swimmer. They're censoring.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's a big issue. And we have something coming out on that next week. We're going to get through the holiday here, celebrating our great nation and everything. And next week we got some things. It's going to be pretty exciting. What we're coming out with on that.
That's just such a shock.
So we'll see if
and especially the story you just told before about the little girl.
Yeah. It's sad what's going on. We have a lot of great teachers, great educators. Right. It's these school boards, and it's because of the NEA. The Teachers Association, the union that's coming in. And I'm not totally against unions. I'm not. I just think they need to do what they're supposed to do and, protect and negotiate for their employees, their membership.
I think reading, writing, and arithmetic is a good start.
Yeah, those 3 elements, and also...
That's how we grew up.
Yeah, and we need good math, we need good science, we need good real history, the truth. Knocking down buildings and statutes is not the answer.
No, don't get me started on that.
Yeah, it's not the answer.
Knocking down history and rewriting it, very nice.
Yeah, we've learned a lot. I mean, what they're trying to do is, they're going to get rid of Martin Luther King, with some of this stuff. And the same thing with Abraham Lincoln. They're going to start knocking down his statutes,
Because
they owned slaves. There was a statue down in Boston, and I was at it. There was a big hype about it maybe 4 years ago, and they wanted to take this statue down of Lincoln. It was Lincoln standing, and a little boy. He was a black boy, leaning and kneeling, looking up at the president and everything. And some people in the community felt that was offensive. Huh. Well, who led the charge on building that was the black community, former slaves that built that in 1883. Really? And Frederick Douglass was a speaker at that dedication. Lincoln was dead at that point because he was killed in 1865. But it was black labor too, and it's and funded, and it's really, You know, we have to face our history. We have to face and learn from our bads.
Wasn't he the one that sort of freed the slaves?
Yeah, I think he did with that thing called the Emancipation
Exactly.
Proclamation in 1863. Yeah. Yeah, he was.
I told my husband I'm a big Civil War Gettysburg freak. I'm really.
You ever been down?
Oh, we camped there for 4 years, four summers.
Nice.
And we go down as often as we can.
Yeah.
And I said, when they start moving one statue in Gettysburg, I'm out of here. I'm going down, and I'm joining the fight against it. I said.
Have you seen the Vermont statues down there? There's like
Oh,
four
yes.
or five of them.
Yep. I actually, yes, it's great. And you know what they do? They put the statues where the
Right.
Vermonters fought.
Yeah.
So where the statues are is where our
Yeah.
Our people were.
Yeah,
It's
they
really
fought
amazing.
and some died. Yeah. We went down. I went down one year with some guys and we cleaned some of the statues of
Oh,
Vermont.
wonderful.
Yeah, it was nice, and I'd like to do that again.
Yeah.
You know, I'd like to do
That's
that
good.
again.
I didn't
I
know
love
that.
going down there.
Yeah,
I love
did.
going to all the
And
history
Cedar
places.
Creek.
Yeah.
I've been
Oh, yeah.
I've been to that a couple of times and
Yeah.
watched the battle. I like that better than Gettysburg because in Gettysburg they use a farmer's field,
Yeah.
which has nothing to do with the battle. But in Cedar Creek, that's where they reenact on the land where the battle was fought.
You know, and you think of the McLean family who, you know, started in Manassas with their
Yep,
farm and they
right,
moved
right.
west, you know, to Appomattox. I went to Appomattox Courthouse
Oh, did you?
last
No, I have not been there.
September. I was down in North Carolina for a wedding, and we drove. I like to drive because I like to see the country. And so I said to Tam, I said, we've got to go to Appomattox.
Wonderful.
So we went from Charlotte, North Carolina. We drove up into Virginia. Went there first, and we went to the Waltons home because I love the Waltons. That's the type of TV we
right.
need.
Yes. Good night, John Boy.
Yeah, and then we went on to see what's his name, Thomas Jefferson.
What a great trip.
And Tammy had never been to Washington's estate in Martha's in Mount Vernon, so we went there. We spent the
been
whole
there.
day,
Yeah,
8 hours, and it was hot, and
that's
we
great.
sweated so bad. But it was great. It was beautiful.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, it was. You know, we have a lot of great historical places right here in Vermont, in
Yes,
Rutland
we
County.
do.
You know, we have the Mount Independence. That was big during the Revolutionary War.
right.
That whole valley, that whole Champlain Valley. And then also Hubbardton Battlefield. You know, I grew up in Rutland, went to Catholic
great.
school, and they never brought us to those places. Never
Really?
went to Coolidge.
Right in your backyard. Coolidge, of course.
Coolidge, and I'm a big Coolidge guy. He's like my favorite president.
That's great.
Yeah. So, but
I'm very hung up. I told my husband, if they touch one statue, I'm out of here.
yeah,
I'm going down.
yeah,
I'm going to fight.
yeah. I'll be with you. I'll get in your suitcase.
No, just back off a minute. Anyway, they did a really big, great article about you in the 7 days, which I hope people will really take a look at. And I thought if I could ask those questions that they asked, with all due respect to 7 days, that maybe you could kind of tell us what your answers were, because I thought that was we've already talked about why you were running, so I'll skip over that. But
Let me just mention real quick on why, because I see what's going on, and I'm not happy. And I see the Democrat Socialist leadership turning our state, our great, beautiful state, into a big government state, government control. And I think they're trying to even go further where they want to take control of everything we do, including, but not limited to, our children. You know, this new Act 250 bill is all about PUD housing, planned urban development, moving everybody into the city centers. Remember we used to have that sprawl bills going on? And we did all this stuff with downtowns. And if they could stop the development out in the country, if you will. My son just bought 20 acres in Mendon, up on Mendon Mountain. And there's houses up there, but he's clear cutting, and he's doing it respectfully and everything's being recycled, but he's building a home. Yeah. And for his family, he has one child, and they're having a next child, and that's where they want to be.
Right,
they love being out in the wilderness.
And I'm sure they're going to respect that land.
Oh yeah. He'll respect that.
Well, Governor Dean started that "Let's all live in the cities" when he was in office,
and that's scary. So I'm doing it. A lot of this is for my kids, your grandchildren, my grandchildren, everybody's kids. Right. That's why I'm stepping up. My girlfriend Tammy received a thing in the mail the other day about the new child tax credit for daycare, and she was all upset and they have a thread going with all the people at her work, and it's like, no, keep voting for the Democrats, socialists,
right.
and this is what you're going to get, and it's going to get worse.
You know what I said? I was recommending at the Ann Donahue, Representative Donahue from here, stood up and fought on the floor and said, "You're not really being honest about the budget, because they vote on the budget and it's like, but what they don't include are all the other separate bills that have money in them." And she said, if you added all those up, that would be another couple of $1 million added to the budget. And of course, they didn't pay attention. But I thought that was a great message. And I said to her, we should put a clock right under the speaker's podium. And every time they pass a bill, roll that money.
Just let it roll. Let people
like
see
the
it.
debt clock, you know.
You know, you talk about that, but all these, you know, a lot of representatives will vote, and we get this on the Republican side too. And I'm not trying to beat on my Republican friends, but it is a true statement here. Is they vote no in the committees for these different budgets.
Yeah.
But then when it gets to the floor and they do the big budget and they vote yes, to me they negated that no vote in the committee. Because they voted for the budget that's going to, like you said, all the little bills that are going to come to fruition and hit taxpayers. And taxpayers have had enough. They can't afford it any longer. And you know, Patricia, it's about efficiency and effectiveness in our taxes. You know, I'd like to see us cut some taxes. I'd like to see us definitely cut spending and cut regulation. And I'll tell you, you cut regulation, you'll see the floodgates of development and investment happen in Vermont. That's one of the ways I want to change Vermont. And we want to do it responsibly because we need some government spending. We need taxation because of the fact that we have to pay for a lot of different things. But we've got to do it efficiently, instead of just haphazardly.
Sounds good to me.
They want to just do everything.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, and that the trouble is the way they look at bills. You take one bill and it's about kids. Yeah. And so it says $1 million. And then the thought is, but it's only $1 million and it's for the kids. But you add that $1 million to the other millions, and it adds up. But you don't see it. You're just looking at the bill. You know what I'm saying?
Look what they did with the DMV fees.
Oh,
DMV didn't even want these.
No, right.
They said, no, we don't need it. You're getting that. And it's probably just going right into the general fund, not the T fund.
I actually think that was unconstitutional.
Oh, it probably is.
Because a fee is supposed to pay back the department for the actual cost. Mm-hmm. And it can't be any more than that. It's supposed to, if they add a fee, you're supposed to be able to prove, and I know this, you're supposed to be able to prove that money, you were spending it on the DMV side, and it's to make it equal, even. Yeah. And if they didn't want it, they didn't need it. And I don't think they were, and
that's why we need a taxpayer's bill of rights.
There you go.
Yeah, you talk about it in there too.
Yes,
I've been talking about it for a couple of years.
Yeah, no, yeah.
You know.
It's really.
Did I just sound like Joe Biden?
No.
Taxpayer's bill of rights.
Oh, poor guy.
I feel bad for him.
Oh my God, I feel so sorry for him.
Pray for him.
Nobody's thinking of him.
Yeah, not even his wife though.
No.
His family.
Oh, Dr. Jill. Oh my God.
I have Alzheimer's in my family.
Yeah.
And,
I have too. My mother.
Yeah, and what they're doing to that man is.
wrong. I know. I think it's because he's living in this fog. He doesn't know what's going on. They're dragging him around.
Yeah.
And they're really putting a lot of responsibility on his shoulders when he should be. I feel terrible for him.
Yeah, I felt that way at the debate, and I think President Trump actually treated him pretty good.
Yeah, he did.
Really do.
Yeah, I think he knows what's going on.
I am a Trump supporter, and but I don't like some of the outside theater stuff. But on policy, he's dynamite.
Yeah, right.
He's dynamite on policy.
Yeah, and he can talk about it and explain it. Yeah. But he was almost respectful. He is the president, and he's struggling, and people should help him. Yeah. I don't understand why.
Well, if you saw right at the end of the debate, Jill was right up there. Mrs. Biden was right up there, and she had to help him
down the
because he couldn't negotiate the steps and even to go over to say the commentators or. Yeah. Yeah,
I know nobody's thinking of him. They're just thinking of themselves. Yeah. Anyway, Actually, that one of the 7 days asked you about your approach to tax policies in Vermont. Is there anything else you wanted to add from what we talked about?
I wrote, and I've done some research, a lot of research on a consumption-only tax, getting rid of, repealing all taxes in Vermont.
Really?
Getting rid of the property tax, payroll, income, every tax, and just go to a consumption tax.
Which means, I'm sorry
Well,
to
basically
sound so...
every point of sale. Because we
okay.
lose a
So
lot of
it's
money.
up to me whether I buy something or
Right,
not, whether I
right,
need it or not.
right.
Okay, well, that makes
So,
sense.
you know, it's because it would make it easy. It'd make it more fair. It'd be simplistic. It'd be right to the point. You go buy some lumber. You go buy that tripod. You pay a tax on it. The business sends it into the government. But everything has to be subject to it. You can't have. Like, you know, a couple of years ago, the Democrats wanted to put a tax on services on the accountants and lawyers.
Right.
This would call for that, but everybody would pay the same fair amount. It could be 8%, you know, it could be 13%, but you wouldn't be paying a property tax any longer. You wouldn't be paying income tax.
Interesting.
You know, so yeah, and it's something that would come through, you know, the businesses as well. There's 3 levels. There's the raw material, there's wholesale, and there's retail sales. And, you know, people, I think it is, and we're going to study it more.
Interesting discussion.
And I'd like to, you know, get more of it to you. Maybe it's one of the questions, and maybe not this year's survey, but poll, but maybe in a couple of years. But it's just, you know, the thing is people have to understand, and I've written a little bit about it. I've talked a little bit about it on the campaign trail. And a lot of people like it. People have questions, and I've had a lot of people say, if you get it off the ground, I want to be involved.
That's great.
So it's something, you know, Patricia, we always go to the same old stuff. Tax this, tax that. Democrats are trying to tax. Next thing you know, they're going to tax us walking across the street. I think
Don't put that idea in their head.
Yeah, exactly. I think a consumption tax on point of sale, at point of sale, you know, I think it could do very well.
That's
There's
interesting.
a lot of money floating around
I have
Vermont.
to dwell on that a little bit. When you kind of
Yeah.
smooth it out, come back on and we'll
Yeah.
do something.
Yeah.
Excellent.
You know, I was planning to get out there talking to more people about it, but this lieutenant governor thing got in the way.
Minor thing.
But you know, it gives me a stage to talk to
Yeah.
people. And I have brought it up because I'm not afraid of it. It's new ideas, fresh thinking. You know, and I know the tax has been around forever. In England, it's called the added value tax, but it shouldn't have that negative connotation, because if you get rid of all the other taxes, that's the key. You get rid of all the other taxes, and they have one tax. You know, I'm not into the flat tax like a lot of people were.
My husband and I were thinking about that one.
And it's a great system, but that doesn't capture what I'm going to tell you. Because the consumption tax will capture all the illegal money. So the gamblers, the prostitution, the drug sales, when they go to the marketplace, they pay the tax. Right now, they don't pay tax on anything.
Yeah.
They don't pay tax.
And flat wouldn't cover it because they...
Right, and flat wouldn't cover it because I made $42,000 this year. I got to pay, 1%.
Right.
You know? So it doesn't cover it, you know. Whereas the consumption tax captures all that illegal money. You know, some people say, oh, you're going to open up the gates for New Hampshire and stuff like that. No, you're not. People aren't going to run over there. They're not.
Right.
You know, they're not going to run over there to get everything. People are going to leave Vermont and go buy gas over there on the border towns, even in Vermont.
Yep.
You know, gas right now in Rutland County is probably 20 cents cheaper than Glens Falls, New York. But after all this stuff comes in,
come on over, right?
Yeah, and they do. You go to Fairhaven, Pulteney, Manchester. You'll see New York vehicles all the time. They come over and fill up.
Wow.
But if all this gasoline tax and the California emissions standards and all that stuff starts kicking in,
it really scares me.
We're going to be going over there.
It really scares me because we want to be like California all the time. I'm like, please. What is that? Get real. Get real. Get real, people. You know what's going to be a challenge for you when you win? We have lost this year so many seasoned legislators.
Yeah.
I mean, they're gone. This whole group of that I came in with and worked with, and there's so many young new legislators who don't have a clue about how things should work, why they have what the traditions that they have, and I think we're going to lose a lot, and I think it would be incumbent upon the lieutenant governor to, especially in the Senate, to to kind of corral them in and
Yeah.
get them to understand what it's all about.
2 points is that's what's really exciting about this year, because it's opportunities for me too.
That's
going
true.
in with a lot of new people.
Yeah.
And the second thing is we've got John Bloomer, who does
Oh, well,
great work.
that's it,
you know,
yeah.
and John's been a personal friend forever.
Oh, that's great.
And you know, and he's really good, and he works very nicely with both sides of the aisle.
He
He's
does.
well
John's
respected.
amazing.
Well
And he comes from
respected.
an amazing background
Oh,
with
yeah.
mom and dad. And,
Yeah, yeah.
He's a wonderful guy. I should have him on the show.
Yeah, yeah.
Because he doesn't miss a beat.
No, he's good.
Yeah.
He's very good.
He's always watching and right there with whatever is needed.
I'll never forget when his dad died.
Oh, that
You
was
know,
so tragic. The way he died like that. With
Yeah, January 10th, 1995. I was
Oh,
pretty close to the
interesting.
family. I was very close. Actually, I had called the firm the night before because John was my lawyer for my business for doing mortgage work at the bank. And I called up and they answered the phone. It was like 5:30, and I started singing, "Hello, I love you, won't you tell me?" And Mr. Bloomer, the senator, starts laughing. He says, "Gregory, you missed your calling." Last time I spoke to him.
Oh, wow, and that was the day before.
And yeah, the day before, it was Monday
Yeah.
night. And, you know, we were talking about getting him around the county because
Oh.
he won narrowly for reelection. And so we were talking about getting him around the county, and I was going to set up
great.
some different meetings.
What a
And
terrible
I was
thing.
coming up, and we were going to go to the old Thrush.
Yeah. Oh.
My son brought up the
That's- oh,
Thrush
my-
to me.
that's my
I missed-
stomping
yeah,
grounds. Now you're talking.
Yeah, and he was killed that morning.
Yeah.
I remember when John called me about 8:30.
It's terrible. Well, listen, we have
tough.
just a few minutes. Do you want to kind of wrap things up? And if there's anything we've missed that you want to talk about, make sure people know. Up comes the glasses. That's it. Read the notes.
Well, we've got the mental health. That was what I did have down here. And, you know, we are a nation and state of laws, and we need to uphold and follow our laws. And, you know.
It's really, isn't that amazing what's
yeah.
going on?
You know,
I
one-
mean, who cares? It's just terrible.
Right. And other thing, you know, we covered pretty much everything here. You know, one of the questions that you had on here that I was prepared for was the question about my primary opponent.
Oh,
and
right.
To me,
Oh, right.
You know, to me, he's a Democrat.
Yep.
And
Although running as a Republican.
running as a Republican, but he's
Yeah.
been a Democrat. To me, he's
Right.
part of the problem why we're here today. That some of his votes, by looking at his record,
Right.
you know, he has a couple of things that Jay Shepard said this at a speech one night, that, you know, we all got to get behind Gregory because he's the true, real Republican that's been out there doing stuff
Right,
for us
right.
and fighting for us. And his opponent decided to run as a Republican, and he's responsible for a lot of this dark road, stormy business that's going on. And looking at his record, I firmly believe that, Patricia. I really do. I mean, I don't know the gentleman at all, but again, my focus is what the Democrat socialist leaders like Dave Zuckerman are doing.
Right.
And that's where it has to be, because they're ruining our state, they're ruining our families, they're ruining our children. So
Because there are a lot of good Democrats
There are,
up
yeah.
in Vermont. And
there are. Yeah.
And I think some of them know what things why it should really be different.
We just need them
They're-
voting with us a
yeah.
little bit more. You know, stay home as a Democrat. That's
Yeah,
great.
right.
But if they want to do that, but vote with us and show the socialists that this ain't the way.
Right,
It's
exactly.
not the way.
Well, Gregory, I wish you a lot of luck. I
Thank
really
you.
do. And I hope that we can get this video around and get people to
Yeah.
know you.
All righty.
And if you give me a sign, it'll go on my lawn.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate
Oh,
it.
thank you, thank you.
And
This
Bruce,
is,
the best of Bruce.
Oh, thank you. This is Pat McDonald, your host for Vote for Vermont, where our tagline is listening beyond the sound bites. Thanks for tuning in. See you next week.